Oh god. Hold on. That 1 sec. That's my camera is so bright. Oh my god. Sorry. It adjusted to the the white shirt. That's not how bright it's supposed to look. So give me 1 second. It's better for okay, there we go. Cool. All right. Let's see if I can change this really quickly. Nope, we're just gonna go auto. Yep. Cool. What? I want this to change. Go back. Oh, do I actually have to? Oh, that sucks. Okay. All right, whatever. We're good. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all coming into the stream tonight. Thank you for checking in. We got a. Oh, whoops. I thought I went to the Bull score here. Pretty overall, I think entertaining game tonight. You could say for the Bulls, right? And I think that this season has shown me so far, as now, this is the 24th game, so we're pretty much at the 25 game marker. I think this season so far has shown me that the Bulls offense has been legit. Like, this is the Bulls offense that is probably going to be sticking around for the rest of the year, which is great. And there really isn't a lot to be like upset about with this Bulls offense. This Bulls offense, the last couple of games, their offensive rating has been really solid. It's not going to be Boston Celtics level because the Celtics are the Celtics and they have superstars everywhere. But this is really just the way that I want this Bulls team to play consistently, and I hope that it continues throughout the year, which it seems like it's going to. So no problems there. The Bulls took 53 pointers tonight. I think that's great. You know, the Bulls overall shot 47% from the field, and they didn't have like that many turnovers, like 12 turnovers, yeah. And there were some key ones, obviously, but the turnovers. So in this game, right, which has usually been the Bulls' Achilles heel this year, they didn't have that many turnovers, and they had 33 assists, right? So the overall formula for the offense was there for the win tonight. The defense, though, is just going to continue to be an issue. There's some graphs to kind of show you like the last 10 games where the Bulls offense has been kind of better than league average. It's been kind of solid recently in terms of offensive rating, but the defensive rating has just been just continuously dropping. The Bulls tonight let the Indiana Pacers shoot 62% from 3-point range. That's pretty much unheard of even in today's 3-point era. It just kind of shows you that the perimeter defense is just not where it needs to be for wins. I think that's totally fine though in this sort of, you know, season, right? As a person that wants to keep the pick, it's like I'm not like freaking out over it. However, I do think that moving forward, you kind of have an idea what the Bulls really desperately need to work on. And so I think it's just kind of like a overall game where you can say that the Bulls, especially in offense, played pretty well. I think you can look at a lot of guys tonight and you look at the box score, you're like, wow, a lot of guys actually had some pretty solid games. I mean, you have 6 players in double figures, you have 33 assists, 12 turnovers, which is significantly smaller than what's been kind of what the normal is for this team. And you played to pretty much your strength all game long, but the Pacers still beat you. This Pacers team, while they are under 500 at the moment, I do think that they're better than that. If they can just kind of get their crap together, which has been kind of the big question mark all season long. And I think that we kind of saw it, you know, a little glimpse of what they can be tonight, right? So props to the Pacers for kind of putting things together finally. And the Bulls, I think, overall had a really solid game, but the defense just obviously wasn't enough, which you need the defense to win games. So some good things to talk about. We are also going to be talking about the Spurs win last night. I did not stream after that game. I'm usually with my guys on Thursday nights because it's Thursday night football. So I do appreciate you guys giving me that day off. But I do want to talk about that Spurs game as well in this stream, and we're going to be doing some film breakdown tonight as well. So once again, thank you for all checking in tonight. I appreciate you all coming into the stream. Helps me out a lot. It's been a lot of fun this year. So let's open up chat here to the main monitor here. Giddy sucks, man. Bulls don't need it. Why did the front office make that trade? Why? I mean, I think we all kind of know why the front office made the trade, right? I, however, am starting to really be afraid of what Giddy is going to turn into with this team and what the Bulls' decision is going to be with Giddy. So why the Bulls trade for Josh Giddey? Because they decided to move on from Alex Caruso, and they thought, well, Josh Giddey is an available player who they thought had a lot of potential, and here's the result. That's the Bulls front office's issue, is that they seem to not understand potential very well. And they go after guys that they seriously like, but they kind of fall in love with guys that may not necessarily be the really good player to kind of put your whole faith in, right? So I think that it's not that shocking to see the Bulls front office do that, but we as Bulls fans, or at least some of us, I should say, were kind of aware of his limitations. Once again, I want to make this clear. This is not a hate on Josh Giddey stream. This is not a hate on Josh Giddey channel. It's just that when he was traded here, I think a lot of the people that were aware of Giddey were pretty questionable, and especially me. I'm like, I don't know how this is going to seriously work out for Giddey. I have some major concerns, and we're seeing them firsthand this year. Giddey had that triple-double, against the Brooklyn Nets. And I think that's where everyone falls in love with Giddey, where it's like, wow, box score stuff, like, stat sheet stuffer, and all these, they think that he's just going to do all these different things on the court. But you see the problem where a lot of Bulls fans try to say, well, Giddey's the guy that's, kind of helping this offense become, more solid this year, when it's just like, in reality, it just hasn't been the case. The numbers haven't shown it. So, I'm concerned about Giddey. We'll talk more about Giddey kind of moving forward in the film breakdown, but he's gonna have to seriously find a way to carve out a role because that's not on ball. And I think that you've started to see that adjustment this year, right? Where you've seen him cut more, be more aware of when to take up space in the lanes. He's just gonna have to seriously adjust to just not being on ball. The Bulls, though, have to make a serious decision, though, about what's going to happen in the future with him. I know we're only 24, or let's say 25 games in, but the numbers for Giddey don't look great. The play hasn't been great overall. Now, I do think that a lot of us, like you, Migs, are wondering, why did the Bulls make this trade? Which is something that I also asked when the Bulls made the trade. Yeah, I think it's a completely fine thing to kind of question at the moment. But I think out of all channels, this is one of those channels that says, like, the front office is not smart. So they're not going to make smart deals at the end of the day. So with Giddey, I don't know exactly what they're going to have planned for him moving forward, but Donovan's benching him a lot, or I should say just sitting him more than probably what he expected. Especially more than what the Giddey supporters expected. Yeah, so TLDR, sorry for my rant or babbling. It's just, he's going to have to figure out some sort of role that's going to show his value, where he's not necessarily a guy that's can only do things with the basketball. Because his game with the basketball just isn't as good enough to be, or doesn't deserve to be, he doesn't deserve to be given the basketball at all times. He just doesn't. So, yeah, I'm concerned. I'm more concerned what the front office is going to do, because I think this front office is going to double down, which they usually do, right, with all trades and all decisions that they make. They usually double down. They're like, well, we like the guy, so we're gonna pay him a significant amount, or we're gonna lock him up for multiple years, and we're gonna still have him be the starting point guard next year. Right now, as I said, I've said it to many people, if Giddey went into restricted free agency right now, he's not getting paid $20 million a year. He won't. I don't think he's getting the Patrick Williams contract, which is the $18 million a year. And I would question if many teams will give him the mid-level exception at the moment. So if personally right now, if you're the Bulls front office, I think you're kind of looking at him like, I don't know, like go test your market, see what happens. But yeah, I'm concerned. I think all Bulls fans should be concerned, not necessarily just about Giddey's play, but what the Bulls front office is going to do come the end of the season, which I think is a fine thing to kind of question. What's going on, Llama? Appreciate you being here. Difference removing DeMar makes. Yeah, man. It's interesting to kind of talk about. I'm not going to be here saying like DeMar DeRozan is the problem for all things, but I do wonder though, like, is it a team with DeMar DeRozan? Can they kind of really work well in today's era? And just a quick glance. So for reference, the Bulls, this is not including tonight's game, but they came in averaging 43 threes per game. The Sacramento Kings right now, they're down at 33.2. Okay. Now, if you go back to last season, though, the Bulls had DeMar DeRozan. They averaged 32.1 threes per game. Sacramento Kings did not have DeMar DeRozan. They averaged 39. So it's not necessarily just like, oh, it's all DeRozan's fault. I'm not saying that necessarily that. However, if you don't have like the proper team around DeRozan, which is a question if you should be building it around DeMar DeRozan in the first place, you're gonna be sacrificing threes for a lot of mid-range shots and sacrificing layups for also more mid-range shots. And you will probably also be sacrificing tempo. The Kings are about the same tempo as last year, so it's not like a significant sacrifice so far, but it's something just to be interested in. And I do think that the Bulls, whether it was by design or by accident this year, they've done the correct thing, which is launch three-point shots at will, play faster, and everyone's bought into it. Even the guy like Nikola Vucevic, who I did not think would fit into this style, has bought into it. And I appreciate that he's done that. And the ball's popping, right? 33 assists for the Bulls tonight. The Bulls' assist numbers last year were, they averaged 25 assists per game last year. This year for the Bulls, they're up here. They're averaging 29 assists per game. So you can just kind of see obviously the difference in style, maybe some difference in personnel as well. And I do think that the Bulls have done the correct decision again, whether it's by accident or by design. I do think that it's been maybe a little bit both this year, and that's fine. But it's been overall a success so far through, like, I guess what I would call the quarter mark of the NBA season for any team, as the Bulls play their 24th game tonight. So on the offensive end, it's been, I think, a success, and I'm happy overall with it. When it comes to this team. So defensively is obviously a major problem still. I mean, hell, you give 18 threes on 29 3-point attempts tonight. That's unacceptable. But I think that we all kind of knew that the Bulls defense was going to suffer this year, especially with no Alex Caruso. And I am not shocked to see that the Bulls are having some significant problems on that end of the court. But that being said, though, if this was one of those years to go out and be great on offense and be pretty mad on defense, this year is fine to do it. Moving forward, though, you obviously have to get better defenders on the court, and hope the Bulls are willing to go out and do that. So, appreciate you being here, Lob. I know you've been in and out kind of this year, but I appreciate you being here. It means a lot. Thank you. If you guys haven't already, please hit the like button on the stream. Helps me out a ton. Thank you so much for hitting the like button and being supportive this year. It's been a lot of fun with you guys this year, so I appreciate it. What's going on, Rob? How you doing? Thoughts on tonight's game? Also thoughts on the Spurs game? I know probably the Spurs game's not on exactly everyone's minds right now, but we will be talking about that game in tonight's stream. I think that... Sorry the noise. I think that tonight, Halliburton, by the way, I know the Bulls broadcast was talking about how Halliburton's been struggling this year. Overall, Halliburton's had his struggles. I've been keeping track of Halliburton, though. The last 5 games for Halliburton has been a lot better. Like, I want people to understand that. Like, this wasn't just like, oh my God, it's the Halliburton against the Bulls where he always kills us, which Halliburton does kill the Bulls. Like, he just does. But in terms of just Halliburton himself recently, like, he's just been better. I mean, before before tonight. I mean, like, he had a 30-point game against Toronto. And he's had some of these bad games still, but like his scoring numbers have been ticking up just a little bit, right? So like it hasn't been like the pretty atrocious start that he had to the year, but he's been better. So I'm not shocked to see that the Bulls or Haliburton played pretty well tonight. I mean, he's been better recently. So it's not like, oh my God, the Bulls let Haliburton go off and now he's found his stroke again. I do think that the Bulls defensively weren't exactly great against Haliburton tonight, but Haliburton's been better recently. So it's not like Haliburton just decided, oh yeah, it's the Bulls and he's just going to kill us. Now, Haliburton is a Bulls killer. He always has been. So is this man right here. This is the guy that I'm more probably upset about if I'm a Bulls fan, is this guy keeps going off against the Bulls for whatever reason. But yeah, Haliburton's been a little bit better recently. So I hope that people are aware of that. I want to actually really quickly, just because I'm interested, because TJ McConnell, if you're a Bulls fan, you know that TJ McConnell has been a Bulls killer. I like to just kind of use that terminology as like a Bulls killer. And it doesn't matter what team he's on. TJ McConnell just kills the Bulls. And so really quickly, I am going to just try to see if I can find his splits against the Bulls in his career on Basketball Reference. So this does not include today's game. It's not that different, I guess, overall in his career. Yeah, I mean, these are like pretty much TJ McConnell numbers at the end of the day. Shooting though, his 3-point percentage, I guess, is a little bit higher than I would probably like, but even then, that's not too bad overall. So I guess it's not fully a Bulls killer at the end of the day, but TJ McConnell, just at least recently, has just been killing the Bulls. I swear to God. Yeah, the Bulls defense just was clearly not ready to guard any 3-point shot tonight. Didn't matter who took it. Haliburton obviously hit 5, and he hit some contested ones, which was frustrating to watch. But like we saw, like Obi Toppin like get some open 3-point shots. Turner hit a pretty big one late in the game. Siakam had some open looks, and it's just that the Bulls perimeter defense continues to have some breakdowns that you're just kind of looking like you're just scratching your head like, how is this a breakdown? I'm fine this year if the Bulls, like, if they like stick to their defensive principles and they still give up 140 points, okay, that's fine. But when we are not switching on defense where it should be like easy switches, that's where I have some serious problems. And I have issues seeing that the Bulls, for example, tonight, we saw two guys in Buzelis and Terry, that like these are not two guys that are notoriously bad defenders, right? Terry's been known for his defense, and Buzelis is obviously a rookie, but he's, you know, well known for his athleticism and ball tracking. And these guys have issues just trying to make a simple switch, right? And that sort of thing cannot happen. So I'm hoping that that at some point this year gets fixed. Again, I'm not asking for a special performance on defense, right? I'm not asking for the Bulls to only keep a team to only like 100 points or whatever, but I'm asking them just to play their defensive principles as they should, stick to the game plan, and if they still give 140 points and still give the effort, okay, sure, that's fine. That team, deserves their 140 points. But if you're getting up 120 points though, and you're not switching when you should switch, you're not communicating when you should, guys are getting past the perimeter guys way too easily, that's unacceptable. Even if it's, you give up less points, that sort of stuff just can't continue. And I think tonight's one of those games where the defense just wasn't there, and you can tell that guys were having problems just making simple switches with just simple communication, and the rotations obviously weren't there either, but I don't expect them to be this year. So it's all about, honestly, just like that first line, which is what we call point of attack, and it just hasn't been good enough to start. Pacers shot crazy from threes tonight, and Bulls cooled off from 3. That was the main diff, right? Not really, honestly. I think that the Bulls overall, I mean, the Bulls made more threes, right? And shooting 42% from 3-point range on 21 made shots is not bad. They made more threes than the Pacers. Obviously, they attempted plenty more, but at the end of the day, the 3-point battle went to the Bulls, even though the Pacers, had a ridiculous percentage. Overall, in my opinion, the main difference tonight is just the paint points. The Pacers overall shot 56% from the field. it helps that you shot 62% from three, which is great. But I think this just kind of shows you that no matter what level of defense we're looking at, the Pacers were just destroying the Bulls no matter where they were on the court, which shows you that the perimeter defense was just always bad. Paint points doesn't always mean bad rim protector. Paint points means, hey, you're not doing a good enough job on the perimeter to prevent these paint points. So in my opinion, the difference is just that the paint points were a pretty significant difference. But in the end, it's all about the Bulls' perimeter defense just being crap. And that was kind of the big issue, which is just kind of just shown through all these different stats. I mean, 3-point percentage, paint points, 18 3-pointers made in 29 attempts. That's also terrible. So that's probably the difference tonight. I think the offense was pretty solid yet again. Bulls had another, pretty high scoring game. A lot of threes made. Not that many turnovers, 33 assists, another 30+ assist game. Nothing really to complain about there. I mean, a lot of teams win with this sort of formula that the Bulls put out tonight. It just obviously wasn't meant to be. So, yeah, I think overall, again, the offense is fine. The defense is just always bad. Which again, not nothing to be too concerned about. Nearly every time Bulls got close and he hits a three. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened tonight. In the fourth quarter. Rebuild defense the next couple of years. Yeah, I think that's gonna be something that the Bulls front office really needs to look at, especially because they went and got Josh Giddey. So I hope that they understood that Giddey was not a good defender when trading for him. That would be a major red flag if they traded for Josh Giddey thinking that he's a good defender, right? Yeah. Other shots so well from the beginning, and the depth perception on his shot seemed off. I do think Buzelis started forcing some shots that he probably shouldn't have. But I also do think that the mask was a serious problem for him tonight, which is that's not shocking. He checked into the game and then shot a three. So it wasn't like the mask really had much time to kind of like make, kind of stick to his face and become annoying. So him hitting that early three wasn't that big of a shocker to me. I do think though that as the game kind of went on, the mask was becoming an issue, and it's just because he's just not used to wearing it, and any player that has to suddenly wear a mask over their upper part of their face randomly is never going to feel comfortable. So I'm not really too concerned about Buzelis. I mean, like, the biggest thing for me honestly is the fact that he continues to look really solid. His confidence in his shot looks really good. I'm just going to continue to say it. Buzelis, I would much rather him just continue just launching shots with full confidence than have him hesitate on open looks and basically beg for him to shoot the damn ball, right? So the fact that he's launching these threes with full confidence, he's knocking down the corner 3-point shot and with full confidence right now. That's great. That's a great sign. He's also shooting the 3-point shot even if the guy's kind of like there, right? Even if like a defender's like full out charging at him at the 3-point line and contesting him, he's still shooting it and he's making the shot. So I understand that this, we'll see if the mask is going to be necessary. I would, if I had to just give him advice, I would just say ditch it. It's not like his nose is broken. I know it's bruised, but I would personally just ditch it and worry about it later. So yeah, I'm really happy with how Buzelis has looked this year. I know a lot of Bulls fans, like, I guess with their expectations, they expected Buzelis to kind of like come in and like be like a major focal point in the offense and like show some like isolation moves. For me this year, it's all just about like, hey, shoot the 3-point shot with full confidence, show some good defense on perimeter and the interior, which I think he's done, and make sure that you can fit within the offense and be a solid off-ball player, and he's done that. And when it comes to like on-ball opportunities, pick and roll plays, like that will come later. That's gonna come down like later down the road with Buzelis. His handles are really I can see potential with his handles. It's not great right now. It's a little sloppy, but later down the road, I can see areas where Buzelis can have more on-ball opportunities, or he's involved with the pick and roll action, right? That's down the road stuff. But this year so far, from basically what I wanted from Buzelis this year, He's already kind of showing it in once he got back into the rotation, right? He's shown some of what I really wanted to see. Biggest thing now is that he's starting to understand the rotations on defense, and we're seeing him get some blocks. That I'm really excited to see if we can see more of those in the future, because those were the types of blocks that I envisioned Buzelis getting in his career. The 3-point shot, like, going down right now is fantastic. Like, that gives me full confidence moving forward. That he's, like, the fact that he's shooting with full confidence, not hesitating, even if a guy's in his face, he's shooting it. Like, even if he misses it, it's okay, but he's knocking him down, and so that gives me a lot more confidence moving forward, which was a major question mark coming into his rookie season. Is like, well, what's the 3-point shot going to look like? It's one thing obviously to shoot it, with full confidence, which is one step, but to actually hit some shots that are pretty NBA level, right? That's a whole other thing. And so right now, I'm feeling really solid about him. So if he just kind of does this for the rest of the year, where it's like, yeah, he's not gonna have like great point performances, but he sticks within the flow of the offense, he shoots the 3-ball good, plays solid defense, interior and perimeter, then I'm fine. I'm all good with this year, in terms of his rookie season, because I seriously doubt, with just the way that how Billy coaches and how this season's kind of shaping up, I don't think Buzelis will be in the starting lineup this season unless there's like significant injuries that hit. Right now, Ayo Dosunmu is like the backup power forward right now, because that's his role, and he's played it really well. So I don't really see any sort of opportunity for him to kind of start this year, but I think that's fine. Like, I don't need Buzelis to start. I just need him to play, and Billy's giving him a lot of minutes recently, so I do appreciate it. At the end of the day, on the mask, the more time in and out, maybe the light and dark. It's not necessarily about the light and dark. It's more so that I think that that mask, even if it's like strapped on tight, it moves. And so if he's ever trying to make a dribble move, or if he has to defend a guy, like, it kind of moves, right? And so it will mess up your perception, even without you really even knowing it. So yeah, I'm not too concerned, honestly, about Buzelis missing some. Like, he had some air balls today, but he hit 2 threes earlier, so I'm like, okay, we're fine. So yeah, basically players wear black under the eyes to reduce glare, maybe some type of effect there. Again, I don't think it's that. I just think it's just you have a thing on your face. Like, I think his lankiness needs to lead to some sloppy dribbling on some drives. Oh, for sure. I do think that his length has been kind of the reason why he's had some like weird dribbling moments. But that's fine. If he works on that and uses his wingspan to his strength with his dribbling, then hey, we're all good. That's fine to have in your rookie year. I'm not concerned about that. Booz is streaky, but he is really showing the transition defense strength, shot blocking there. I know Bowles has moments and streaks tonight, but didn't like Billy tonight at all with the timing his changes of who was on properly. Could see the points it would fall apart before they had happened. I mean, so this is where I'm gonna give Billy some grace here, because if you look at the minutes tonight, right? Most minutes played with Zach with 34, let's say, round up. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys coming off the bench. This is without Patrick Williams, okay? But either way, you have at bare minimum a 10-man rotation per half. But we saw an 11-man rotation in the first half, okay? I understand what you're saying, Charles. I would also have made some changes into Billy's rotation tonight. There are moments where I think that Ball should have been on the court when he wasn't. But I'm also where he has a minutes restriction. So I can understand where you're upset about it, but at the same time, he is trying to manage all these guys' minutes and make sure that everyone gets enough playing time. So I can understand the frustration, but in my opinion, this is one of those things where I'm just like, I can just give Billy the grace on this one. I'm as critical of Billy as anybody, but this is one of those moments where it's like, that's rough, man. It's rough to try to figure out all these minutes for everybody, while also trying to stay competitive in Billy's head, right? So I think overall he did probably, in terms of minute spread, I think he did a really solid job. I was wondering if Julian Phillips was out of the rotation tonight, but he still played. So I'm happy overall with how Billy kind of did his rotation tonight. Not to mention this. In the Spurs game, right, Kobe and Lonzo did not play in the Spurs game, right? So you're automatically talking about two guys that came back tonight. One, obviously, just because he's not playing back-to-backs, but the other just got back from injury. And so you went from 9 guys that you played to suddenly, oh, we have 11 guys tonight. That's rough. Like, it's a rough job. So I can understand the frustration with Billy's, lineups, let's just say, right? I think some of his lineups were kind of sketchy, especially in that second quarter, when the Pacers went to zone, and I think he left the bench out there for too long initially. And we had like THT in with the starters in the second quarter, which is like, I don't know if we need that, but I understand the frustration. It's just that it's hard to make sure that everyone gets their minutes. So I'm okay with it at the end of the day. I think everyone got their minutes. Sometimes Bulls looked good for the catching up when it was more Pacers being bad. The Bulls still looking a chaotic mess that lucked out. Yeah, Billy almost seemed to think it was good. I think the Bulls had some good moments though tonight. Defensively, obviously not great anywhere, but in terms of offense, I think it's been pretty solid. There obviously then the second quarter happened where you only scored 19, and that entire quarter where the Pacers went zone and the Bulls transition, they couldn't get transition opportunities. Like, yeah, that was obviously dreadful. But at the same time though, like, I mean, that was a second unit and also a first unit issue. So it's not like you could have just like swapped out certain guys. That just was bad overall, no matter who's on the court. Back-to-back getting in late could have affected some of the effort on defense and shooting tonight. I don't know about effort and defense necessarily. Shooting maybe, but also maybe it could affect Billy's decisions tonight in terms of rotations, right? Second game of back-to-back. You got in late. I mean, the Bulls got in at 1:40 a.m. apparently from San Antonio, which sucks. So I can understand maybe that. Find out how he managed to some of the moments he rotated players out too late or early. Oh, I think Io and Kobe came in way too late in the second quarter for sure. To end the second quarter, I should say. I thought Ball should have been in there to end the game, but he hit his minutes restriction mark before like the last 3 minutes. So yeah, I can be hypercritical of it, but I'm not gonna be too critical of it at the end of the day. I like that they're not practicing shooting at the UC. I also like that. I think that's a really smart thing to do. Advocate Center is the Advocate Center. They'll always be special, I guess, to the Bulls, but yeah, I also like that shoot around is now at United Center. That's how it should be. Whose minutes are all pleased with the most, even though with his lapses on passes, maybe vision. I do think that his vision was also messed up today. Gonzalez has some decision issues in terms of passing. I understand that he does have that, but I also do think that his vision was severely lacking with the with the mask on his face tonight. Passing court. What's max minutes for Ball up? I think they can max out this year. So max minutes right now is 18 for since he's gotten back from his wrist issues. So that's cool. In terms of for the rest of the year, I can maybe see like a 24-minute minutes restriction. He will always be coming off the bench though. I don't think he'll ever start. Because if you think about it, like even let's say if Ball checks in with like 6 minutes to go in the first quarter, you made a 48-minute game into a 42-minute game for Ball. So you basically just like you've just cut out like 6 minutes of the game for him, no matter what. So I think no matter what, he'll be coming off the bench, even if guys get traded. I just think that the Bulls probably don't want to push it too far with him. And just knowing that because we're right now, I mean, the fact that Lonzo's even playing is like he's already playing into the unknown, but it's going to become even more of an unknown as he continues to play, right? Lonzo got hurt pretty early, so we haven't necessarily seen how his body reacts to when he plays like 3 weeks straight, right? So that's kind of my next concern with him is like he may be physically capable right now to go and play like 30 minutes, but let's say he stays healthy for the next 3 weeks. Is he going to be physically capable of playing 30 minutes then if 3 weeks down the road? I would have my doubts. So I think, if he continues to, progress well, then I can see him going up to 24 minutes, maybe like mid-year, maybe like All-Star break or something like that. But for now, I think it's going to be like, right now it's 18. I can see them upping it to 20 pretty soon, but then I think it's just going to be kind of like capped there for a while because they don't want to kind of push him as he tries to get used to the NBA season again. Because, I mean, hell, like we've talked about all these different things with Lonzo where it's like, game shape, game speed. He hasn't seen professional basketball in a long time. And so there's all these hurdles for him to go through. But then the next hurdle for him, which is just going to take time, which is that how long is it, like, can he survive, 3 weeks straight of playing, right? And we don't know, right? We don't really know. So none of us have seen this ever before in our lives. So I would just really use caution with Lonzo. I think he's playing great. I have no issues with how he's playing. Nothing seems to jump out at me in terms of like, oh, he's dealing with pain or whatever. But yeah, I just would be very careful with him. End of the day, he's a person. He's not just an NBA player. So let's make sure he's okay. I would like Kobe and Giddey off for the closing minutes. Use Giddey earlier in that mess period instead. In the second quarter. I can see it, but then that means you have to severely change your first quarter rotation, right? Which is kind of hard to do. There's any Lonzo like challenge time. Should I save him for the end law? I think Billy's kind of done like a mix of both. Like we've seen Lonzo kind of use up his minutes, like before the third quarter ends. And then sometimes Billy kind of waits and then waits until the fourth quarter to use them, right? So it's not gonna be the same every game with Lonzo. I think it's just kind of how the game flows and what Billy thinks is right. What does Lonzo's camp think too? I don't know what Lonzo's camp specifically thinks, but I would trust the camp and listen to the camp. Would not listen to the most medical staff. Maybe they use this next 2 weeks where there's a lot of days off to test the minutes. Maybe. But even then, I would still just use caution. I know the Bulls have, like, after this Sunday game that's coming up, I know that they have, like a 4-day rest. But I would just use caution. Yeah, I would not rush Paul's minutes at all. Yeah. So the max, again, in my opinion, for the season would be 24 minutes. But even then, I think you can even argue, like, that's too many. But for now, though, I think it's going to be stuck at, like, 18 to 20 for a bit. So I would just use caution at the end of the day. All right. Overall, though, just to kind of go individually through this game. So once again, if you're just joining, I will be talking about this game. I have some film breakdown for this game, but I also do want to talk about the Spurs game because I know I didn't do a post-game stream after the Spurs game, so we'll be talking about that in this stream. Zach, I mean, I think nothing needs to be said. I mean, the dude's shooting the hell out of the ball. 50% plus across the board. I know the free throws weren't great, but hell of a night for him. 16 points in the third quarter. Really, really good performance tonight. I would assume in the starting lineup has been really interesting to watch. If I tweeted out earlier in the game that maybe Io just kind of need just to go into the starting lineup, just kind of fix his shooting. And it's been kind of shocking, honestly, because Dosunmu's had some struggles this year in terms of his shooting. But for whatever reason this year, Io's shooting has been significantly better when he's in the starting lineup. So coming into tonight's game, Io as a starter has averaged 16 points per game. He's shooting basically 55% from the field. He's shooting 34% from three, which is not like amazing, but it is up from his 26.5% from three, which is what he's shooting off the bench. He's also only shooting 44% from the field as a reserve, which is just really interesting just to look at when it comes to Io. Now that tonight's game is, and I'm just interested to see what the stats look like because he had another good shooting game tonight as a starter. He got off to a 3-for-3 start. So now his splits in terms of stars versus bench role. So he's still averaging 16 points per game as a starter. He's now shooting 56% from the field, and also shooting 37% from 3-point range. This is more typical Io. Not it like 56% is probably a little bit too high. That he probably shoots more around like 51% overall from the field, but 37% from three sounds more like Io. That's more him. He's also averaging a steal per game as a starter, but he's not even averaging half a steal as a reserve, which is also just kind of interesting. If you're wondering about the minutes difference, I mean, he is playing more minutes as a starter, which is expected, but it's not like he's, averaging like 12, 15 more minutes. He's really only averaging about 4 to 5 more minutes as a starter versus a bench player. So, not exactly sure what it is. I mean, maybe Io just really needs to start for him to shoot well. It's just kind of interesting just to kind of see that. But I know last year his numbers as a starter were really solid. So maybe just kind of got used to it. But yeah, I had think another a really solid game as a starter again. So that's cool to see. And overall, though, I'm just gonna give Buzelis another shout out because I think that we saw some really good things tonight. I will show you a few of those things in film breakdown. Kobe returned tonight. Overall, probably a struggle. He took some threes I thought were a little unnecessary. That's even come from me. But I do like still that he's the designated shooter. Vooch had that hell of a game in San Antonio. 39 points. Not shocking though that he did not have as good of a game tonight. Miles Turner is a very solid player, solid defender. So I'm not shocked that Vooch wasn't able to get as many opportunities to shoot the ball compared to obviously San Antonio without Victor Wembanyama. So kind of just like an okay game for Vooch, but I'm okay with it overall. I think Giddey overall did struggle. But I'll talk about him in a little bit here. Lonzo I think played solid. I think Jalen Smith also had a pretty solid game. Even he didn't make a three, but 18 minutes, 10 points, 7 rebounds is pretty good overall on the field. Just to give a quick shout out though, just again, I do want to talk about the Spurs game just a little bit. I think Dalen Terry recently has played really well. He didn't play that well in this game tonight, but I do think that overall he's been playing really well. So I do want to just give him his props because he had a hell of a game against the Spurs. And I don't want to just be like glossing over that. So I think Terry, he's been much better this year and just in everything, shooting, finishing at the basket, willing to take shots at the rim, and not just pass it out. So I think he deserves a lot of credit. So just props to him for being better and improving as a player. He did not have that good of a game tonight, but I don't want to just forget about that. So major props to Terry for improving this year. Once again, the Bulls just perimeter defense. I mean, you let the Pacers shoot 62% from 3-point range, which again is unheard of, but you let that happen. So problems at the end of the day. Let's see. I'll definitely get traded. I'll definitely get a nice return. Honestly, El Trapo, I know that the rumors have been up there about Lonzo getting traded. I really don't know how many suitors he's going to have. The one thing that people need to keep in mind is that while Lonzo is only making $20 million this year, or about, let's say, the problem is that with the new CBA and with Lonzo's minute restriction, it's probably going to be kind of in place all season. How many teams are going to be really willing to give out or use $20 million of luxury tax space or, money before the apron hit, or if they're hard capped, are they even able to trade for his contract? How many teams are going to be actually willing to go and get him for $20 million just to come off the bench and only play 18 minutes per game? It might be the most effective 18 minutes of the game, but that's $20 million, right? So I don't know about definitely getting traded. I know the rumors are out there. If the Bulls can get anything for Lonzo with everything that's happened, I'd be very happy. But I don't know if there's going to be a legitimate team that's going to be out there willing to trade for Lonzo Ball, just due to the money. If he was making only 8, I think a lot of teams would go and get him. But he's making $20 million this year, so it's a tough kind of way to look at things. and tough for the money matching. So again, I don't think anything's a guarantee, especially for a guy that has not played in the last 2.5 seasons. So just also keep that in mind. How many teams could be willing to risk future assets for a guy that has a major injury history? He has also already missed games this year, and it's on a minutes restriction. Like, that's a lot of things to kind of think about in terms of baggage with Lonzo, as good as he's looked. So yeah, if the Bulls can get anything for Lonzo, they must immediately accept the offer and don't think twice about it. But I just don't know if there's really gonna be any teams actually like willing to trade for him. I think they're gonna be scared about minutes restriction. He's already been injured this year. I obviously wasn't the knee, but he is an injury prone player. $20 million that you have to work with, right? Like, that's a lot. So we'll see. I'll be interested to see what's going to happen with Lonzo. He should be one of many guys that should be on the trading block for the Bulls this year, in my opinion. Stars are better feeding him the ball on the run for turnovers, etc. Oh, I agree. If you're talking about Vooch. The minutes game plan is what teams want to know and how much he can play. So I think they may test max minutes before they trade it deadline again, like 24 maybe. Even then, though, it's a scary prospect, right? Because again, he's coming off the bench, most likely. If Lonzo was a starter, right? If he was capable of being a starter, I think a lot of teams would be more willing to trade for him with like a no minutes restriction in place. But if he's coming off the bench with a minutes restriction, I think a lot of teams are scared to use up $20 million of their salary cap or whatever money they have left remaining to have a guy like Lonzo on the team. It's a little scary, right? So again, he's very impactful, but it'd be a scary prospect at the end of the day. As one-dimensional, he gets transition with the ball drive right at the moment. With Stars, he gets to add an open three or more, and he has players cut Puka, which is he is growing as a pass he can make. Especially as bad awful movement, even if Bulls low cut rate, etc. Well, I think the Bulls bench unit just you have less guys out there. You just have less shooters. Like, it's not shocking that the Bulls overall offense looks worse when you just have less shooters on the court. When the second unit right now does not have Vooch or Levine in it, so your two best players who are legitimately just tearing up the court this year, they're neither players in the second unit, which you're gonna struggle. I mean, when your two best players that are shooting ridiculous percentage right now are not on the floor at all times, you're just gonna struggle as a team. So there's that. I do think though that the second unit has some limitations to it, which is more so that there's less ball handlers out there, and the defense, even in the second unit, you can argue is more concerning than the first unit, because Jalen Smith is not that good of a defender. Kobe's in the second unit, and we've seen Giddey in times at the second unit as well. But it's not like the Bulls defense gets significantly better or anything with the second unit. I understand Julian Phillips and Terry playing a lot in the second unit this year, but it's not like they get better. So the second unit just doesn't have either star in it, and I think that's just a major limitation at the end of the day for everybody on the court. So obviously with Io, there's that, but just a reminder, recently Io's been in the second unit even though he's been starting. He's been playing a lot of second unit minutes. He's just played better in the second unit. So just to keep that in mind, I understand that the second unit has had their problems, and Io overall as a reserve has had his issues with the second unit, but he's also played a significant amount of minutes in the second unit as a starter. Billy's been taking him out pretty early in the first quarter, and playing the second unit with him. In terms of then Io being one-dimensional, I think obviously then it's about the 3-point shot, right? Can you hit your threes? And the 37% is more himself, where I expect him to be. The 26% is obviously not what I expect. So if he hits his threes, then because he's such a good finisher at the rim, which we've seen recently, I'm fine with him only having the one drive to the right. That's fine. He's just so good at it that I'm not concerned. But if you're not hitting your threes, which he needs to, then it becomes a bigger issue at the end of the day. So I think still at the end of the day, I think this is just kind of showing like Io is versatile. Because I do think that he can play either guard position. He's probably best overall as an off guard. And if he can continue to put up these numbers, like, I mean, these numbers as a starter in terms of being like an off guard, I know that he's kind of playing like the 4, quote unquote, right now, because Patrick Williams is out. But if these were the numbers for a dude that's playing off ball, like the off guard spot, I mean, 16 points per game on extremely good efficiency with better defense as a starter, 5 assists, like that's very good. Like a lot of teams would want that as your, you know, if you have a star point guard, like if that's your off guard guy, that's a very good off guard. Like those are very, very good numbers to have as your starter complementing your star point guard, right? So this is just kind of good info for me moving forward, because this is what he kind of did last year too. That maybe he's not necessarily like the point guard of the future that I kind of maybe thought that he could be in his rookie season. If he just because of his great rookie year, I was thinking maybe he can be the point guard of the future. But instead, though, he's probably more like the off guard, or if the team has a ball dominant forward, he can be like the point guard, quote unquote, but he's just not handling the ball as much, right? So in essence, is the comparison I always make is Drew Holiday with the Boston Celtics. Drew Holiday is the point guard, but we know that most of the ball handling is done by Tatum and Brown. So yeah, Drew Holiday is the point guard, but the main playmaking is done by the 2 forwards on that team. So that would be like Io's role, right? Which yet again is very valuable. Like this is a very valuable thing to have. It's just that you know, we don't know what the team's going to look like in the future. So I overall think it's fine. I think that if Io just continues to look like this as a starter, which I know he's not going to shoot 56%, but him shooting 50% is kind of been the standard for him. So I hope that continues. Jalen Icing his knee, I worry about if they do trade Vooch. I have some concerns about Jalen Smith as a starter. He does seem to kind of be made of glass right now, so we'll see. Pascal and Giddey marking each other a lot. It's not a great matchup choice for the Bulls in many of those minutes. Oh, I agree, but I don't really know what's a better option, honestly. I think that I mean, Zach kind of took Halliburton tonight a little bit, but we also saw Io and Halliburton, and so then someone has to guard Mathurin, someone has to guard Siakam. Like, you know, it's a rough decisions at the end of the day. Notice that ever since Giddey didn't get his $30 million a year contract, he stopped driving the ball and kicking out. I don't think he stopped necessarily. I think what's happening is that he's just having less opportunities with the basketball, right? The Bulls overall have just decided that the Bulls are better when he doesn't have the basketball in his hands. So he lacks opportunities to go and do the driving kicks because he doesn't have the ball in his hands as much. Which I think is probably the best decision if you're trying to win, right? But that's kind of where the problem is with Giddey, is that the team doesn't trust him to have the ball in his hands at all times because he lacks scoring ability. So he can't do his drive and kick stuff because he doesn't have the ball as much right now. His usage percentage has just gone down pretty much. But I have to trade ball ASAP. He's gonna walk away for free, like 10 to 15 million a year easy. I honestly, I'll drop, but like as much as it, like I understand, like you want to probably get value for him, but at the end of the day, just due to the circumstances, again, he didn't play for 2.5 seasons. Injury, surgery that has never been done before, and players come back and return, right? I'd be okay, honestly. Like, I don't think the Bulls are going to get anything spectacular for him anyway this year. If they actually do trade him, like, I think you're getting a 2nd-round pick, which is great. I mean, I will definitely take it. Like, I'm not saying I would turn it down. I'm just saying that it's not like you're getting a 1st-round pick for Lonzo. I promise you that. You are not going to get a 1st-round pick for Lonzo Ball this year. I can promise you that's not going to happen. However, I do think that if Lonzo at the end of the day, like, he's not traded and does leave, which is probably the best decision for both the Bulls and for him, I think it's fine. Like, I think that's just a fine thing at the end of the day. I don't know how much money he would actually get because, again, injury history, made of glass, already has been on the injury list this year, and he's mostly going to be a bench player from here on out, probably. So I do think that he'll kind of take a little bit of a pay cut. Obviously not the 20 million he's getting this year, but, you know, maybe 10 million would be the number, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's only like a 2-year contract, right? Because teams don't want to like lock themselves in for a 4-year deal for a guy that has had his injury issues. So I do wonder, right? What would happen if Lonzo hit free agency right now, or what does he look like come the end of the year? At the end, and how healthy is he? I started to get the cuts for Aya to have a useful pass. They find him open for a 3 and they get better place balls for a turnover to advance the ball at speed for Aya's speed to be maximized. Aya's a player that thrives in isolation. The player feeds off who is with him a heap. Oh, I agree. I don't think Aya's ever been an isolation player. I never said that. However, I think he's a capable pick and roll player. Off guard or a small forward from whatever is not the primary ball handler works. No, yeah, I think that's fine. He's a very capable ball handler. Like, again, he only averages 1.3 turnovers per game, and in his career he's been in that like low number. So like he can have the ball. Like, I'm not scared to give him the ball, especially in transition. Like, he's gonna make good decisions. So yeah, like off ball, 2-guard, like whatever it is, like just have him play off ball is probably best. And even right now, I know he's not really the power forward, but like he's playing power forward right now. He's been just better than Pat right now as the power forward, right? Yeah, so like he's very capable off ball. I have no concerns about it. Again, if you're averaging 16 points per game on high efficiency and bringing good defense, that's extremely valuable in today's game. Especially for a guy that is 6'5" and finishes really well at the rim, if that continues, obviously. So yeah, I'm hoping that this continues. Ball and people are probably not going to get the CL value at the moment. May as well just hold. Or Ball Skates just offer him a smaller contract. Hope he holds. I don't necessarily know if that's the best case scenario either for the Bulls. Like I think with Lonzo, I think both parties are just like, hey, if we decide to part ways, it's all good. Like I wouldn't be upset about it. I think for Lonzo, because he's gonna probably want to go play for like a winning team, it's probably best case scenario. For the Bulls, just because they have so many guards on the roster anyway, even if they trade Zach, right? Like even if you trade Zach, like you still have a lot of guards, right? And I think they're just like, yeah, I think it's probably just best to move on from him. Unless Lonzo is going to actively be like the small forward for this team, which I don't. That's also not a bad idea. Then I would personally look to probably just move on from him. Even if you don't trade him. I think I think Lonzo's going to want to go play for a contender. I think that's probably where he wants to go. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes back to LA, honestly. But yeah, I think overall for Lonzo, like we'll see what happens again with the future of this team, because we'll see if the Bulls actually do the rebuild or not. Because there is a legit possibility where this Bulls team just keeps Zach and they're trying to win every single year still. And if that's the case, then I think Lonzo might stay. But yeah, it's just gonna be an interesting thing just to look at, because again, he's playing well, but baggage with just scary prospects, right? Injury, contract, last year of your contract also. So it's not like, a team's not going to give you really anything anyway, just due to injuries, but they're also not going to give you anything if he doesn't have any extra years on his contract left. So I would hope that teams understand that and make the correct decision and not give up many future assets. Now, I would love a first-round pick, but we know that's not going to be possible. Going Lonzo never got an injury, missed out on really good basketball as fans. I think Lonzo was obviously really key. Do I think the Bulls would have been like to the conference finals in the last 3 seasons? No. Do I think the Bulls would have been like a top 4 team in the East? Still no. Do I think the Bulls probably make the playoffs every single year? Yeah. I think if Lonzo's there, the Bulls make the playoffs probably every year. But either way, though, I do think that like, yeah, you are right that we missed out on some good basketball, but for in terms of like, there are so many Bulls fans that are like, if Lonzo was just healthy, the Bulls make the conference finals. I'm just like, no, that's not the case. Even in the first year where the Bulls were top of the Eastern Conference with DeMar DeRozan in his first year, and he's having like an MVP caliber year. I was still adamant that Bulls team was not going to be like a contender that year. They were missing pieces, and AK stayed pat at the trade deadline. So I was pretty adamant like that team was not going to be a contender. Like they were still missing some pieces to be an actual contender. And then the Bulls went out and never continued to actually add more to the puzzle. So yeah, I always just say like, hey, Lonzo, yeah, we would have loved to have had Lonzo every single year, like healthy. I just don't think it would have made the Bulls a contender. It would have been fun basketball though, for sure. I think that the Bulls would have played better basketball. But I don't think they would have been a contender. Because we saw that without Lonzo, they were pretty much a 500 team, right? So with Lonzo, like I think that you're better than 500, but I don't think you're like 50 wins easily. You maybe be close to 50 wins, but I don't know if you're 50 wins easily. How crazy finishes his career in Chicago? I don't know if you will. I have my doubts about it. Boston's 500 when the Bulls were in first, and Jalen Lonzo got hurt. Then Boston went and run in the second half. Yeah, I do think that at the time when the Bulls were in first, there were some weird things happening in the standings, sort of. And the Bulls just never beat an actual like high level team, right? They kind of had a little bit of an easier record. I know we were all drooling over when the Bulls beat the Lakers and when the Bulls beat the Nets, right? And then we find out later in the year like both those teams are not as good. So those wins really didn't matter as much at the end of the day. All right. I do want to show a few things here in terms of. Oh my god! Hold on. Sorry. I just realized I spilled some water and I didn't realize it, so it just got on my mouse. So hold on. I gotta clean that up. Sorry. Okay. So I do want to go ahead and show some film breakdown of what I'm excited about when it comes to Buzelis, and kind of show you like the reason why I've been kind of adamant that Buzelis is a 4. At least for moving forward. Like, if he's not a 4 this year, fine, whatever. But I mean, he's basically playing the 4 anyway. But for Buzelis, I really do think that he's gonna have the most success as a 4. Again, I'm not here to be like, hey, this is I'm not trying to like pigeonhole him or anything. Like he is very versatile from what I've been seeing. But I do think that he is gonna have the most success in terms of showing off his defensive capabilities as being a 4. And I'm hoping that people start to understand that, and I'm gonna show you why. Because I gotta find exactly where his block happened, but Buzelis' overall just shot blocking ability is just it's in my opinion it's very impressive. We've seen it when he's guarding guys on ball. We've seen it now a little bit more when he's kind of on guys off ball. Well, let me show you this. So I do think that Buzelis is finally starting to kind of get used to the NBA rotations, which we've seen so far this year that he's had some issues when it comes to rotations, right? He's had some moments where he's missing rotations, where he gets caught off guard, maybe a little bit. But let me just show you this play here to kind of explain why I'm like, hey, this is a 4, at least in my eyes, if that makes any sense. So here, one sec. Buzelis, like we've seen a lot so far this year when Buzelis is like he's guarding, like he's switched out to say onto a guard, right? Buzelis has to kind of move his feet well, and kind of stay in front of his man, and because of his good length and just his overall size. He's able to block shots for like a smaller guard when they try to attack the basket. Buzelis has had moments where he is like a step behind, but he recovers so well that he's able to get that block shot. Now I'm going to show you where I think he's going to be a severe rim, or a heavy, like a really severe shot changer and a really solid rim protector with the Bulls moving forward if he does play the 4. And so let's watch this play. So we're gonna go with we'll go with black because the Bulls are wearing black tonight. So here's Buzelis. Okay, he right now he's obviously the main rotator on the weak side. So if at any point someone from the strong side has a direct line drive to the basket, he has to be the main rotator from the weak side to cover that up. Okay, this is kind of what he's been missing throughout his rookie season. Like he's had moments of just either, I don't know if it's like brain cramps or he just is not as aware. He's just confused. Like he's just had moments where he's not ready to be the main rotator on defense. And this is really where I think he's going to have most of his success. So the Bulls here, it's a guard, on defense. So it's just a switch, but it is Obi Toppin setting the screen. So it's not exactly, or sorry, it is Tyrese Haliburton, excuse me. So it's guard, pick and roll. And so here, right now, we get the ball back. And now Haliburton and Obi Toppin go into the pick and roll. So now you have the center and Jalen Smith involved. And so the Bulls aren't just going to switch this. So, fight over the screen. If you're IO, Smith has to step up to make sure Haliburton doesn't get the 3-point shot off. And so now Haliburton has done his job, which is that he's drawn 2 to the basketball. Okay, I'm going to switch to the red. So now 2 are drawn to the basketball, what in this case 2 Bulls players, which that means Haliburton has done his job. He has done his job completely as a point guard, playmaker to draw 2 and open up his teammate. So now he passes over to Obi Toppin. So as I said earlier, Buzelis right now is the main rotator. He is the first guy that needs to come over and rotate on this sort of play. And so he's guarding Siakam. And if Buzelis comes over and rotates and the ball is thrown out to Siakam, then Lonzo has to run out to Siakam. Okay, so right now, if you're Buzelis, Siakam doesn't matter to you. You're supposed to right now, because you see what's developing on the strong side, you need to be the rotator to cover up Obi Toppin right now. Okay, which he does. Okay, he steps up to the plate and he contests Obi Toppin, who is a high flyer and is able to get the block shot on him. Again, this is not just some guard. This is Obi Toppin, who's a high flyer that can finish pretty strongly at the basket, and he's able to get that block shot. So just watch it in real time here. Yeah, this is why I'm excited for Buzelis on defense. Like this right here gives me a lot of hope for him as that main rotator at like the 4 position, or as what a lot of teams have been kind of looking at as like the Giannis type of shot blocker or Giannis rim protector. A lot of times what the Bucks would do with Giannis is like they wouldn't necessarily have him be on like the main star. Like they wouldn't put him on the star player on defense because they want to actually take advantage of his shot blocking ability. So they'll place him kind of as like on a guy that's more off ball, and then he's in prime position to come over and shot block at all times because he can just kind of leave that man and come over and contest the rim. For Buzelis, the reason why I really wanted to play the 4 is because I don't necessarily want him always guarding guys on the perimeter, especially guards. While he seems like he's capable of guarding those guys, I think his best talent is in on the interior. So to see this sort of play right here where he very clearly was ahead of everything, right? Like the game wasn't too fast for him. He saw the play developing. He immediately was like, okay, I see that Toppin is going to get the ball here, and he's going to try to go at me at the rim, and so I got to be here quickly. He did everything right. This is everything here in this play by Buzelis is done perfectly. And this is the reason why I get very excited for him, because this is where I think he will have most of his blocks in his career. If he truly does play the 4, this is the types of blocks that I envision him having the most, because he will be this sort of rim protector for guys even at like Obi Toppin length and size. He can block those guys' shots pretty effectively. So yeah, I'm really excited about this sort of stuff for Buzelis. I hope more of this continues for Buzelis, and I'm hoping that the Bulls do truly do realize like this is his future in terms of success. So like even if he doesn't like become like an all-star, like he will bring that to the table. And I'm really hoping that people will understand and the Bulls will understand that this is his calling card. I do think that he is a capable on-ball defender. I'm not trying to like take that away from him, but just to get the most out of him, like I think this is probably his role moving forward with this team. And then obviously the best thing about him is that if he is, let's say, excuse me, if he is playing the 4 and teams try to like, go at him at the 4 position, he is versatile, right? Like he can switch on to different guys. And so he'll be ready to come over and block shots no matter who he's guarding out there on the perimeter, which is the versatility that the Bulls have been kind of really lacking, right? Having a really solid shot blocker that can guard multiple positions consistently, right? No offense to Pat, but Pat really isn't much of a shot blocker. Never really has been. So this is just really exciting to me for Buzelis, and the fact that I'm already seeing that sort of thing happen this early in the season is a really good sign. Like I'm hoping that people understand that that's impressive overall from Buzelis to see that early on. Sorry, I'm trying to show the next play here that I'm really happy about. So here's Buzelis. This is one of his 2 made shots tonight. So he did struggle from 3-point range tonight. He didn't struggle from 3-point range. He struggled with his shot overall tonight. I'm not overall concerned about it. He's wearing his mask because of the contact from Zach last game. So I think he's just adjusting to it. Maybe he'll never adjust to it, but I honestly just think he needs to ditch the mask. But this is the next play I want to show you because this is where I'm excited when it comes to Buzelis on offense. When it came to this year for Buzelis, I was very, very much always talking about how it's not necessarily about for Buzelis, him developing his like isolation game or his pick and roll ability game, or how to be like a post-up player or anything like that. This year, for me, it's been about can you move within the offense, especially without the basketball properly. Can you shoot the 3-point shot with full confidence at NBA speed and NBA level of like NBA level just of competition and overall environment, right? And then defensively, can you show that you can stick with guys your size, and show that you can be an effective rim protector if you gain some muscle and just obviously learn more things on defense. But right here in this play, I'm pausing it here. Now Halliburton has his limitations defensively. We've seen it with Halliburton that he doesn't necessarily try sometimes. But still though, if I were to ask you right now, if this was Patrick Williams in this very same spot, would Patrick Williams let this 3-point shot fly? I don't know about you guys, but I personally would think that Patrick Williams would be hesitant to shoot this ball. I think that's fine. Overall, I'm not trying to be like, hella critical of Pat, but I think if this was Patrick Williams right now where Buzelis has the basketball in this specific scenario, I think Pat isn't gonna shoot this shot. Again, that doesn't mean it's bad. I'm just like, if Pat was able to fake this shot and drive to the basket and finish effectively, then yeah, it's not bad. But Pat hasn't been able to do that his entire career. So I would ideally like Pat to shoot this, but it's not necessarily the right play. But overall, though, what I'm looking at here is that Buzelis was confident enough in his shot, right? He got the basketball quickly in the shooter's pocket, and Halliburton is pretty much like here. I mean, yeah, there's some space here, but this is a pretty simple contest, and you can even see as Buzelis is really trying to like line up his shot here. Halliburton's like right in his kind of grill. It's not like it's not Kawhi Leonard defense, but Halliburton's there. And Buzelis lets this fly with full confidence, no hesitation, and gets the shot off easily and knocks it down. this is what I wanted to see from Buzelis this year. Not necessarily that he needed to make the shot, but can you get the shot off at NBA speed and intensity? Can you get the shot off with a defender in your face? And if it's within the flow of the offense, are you able to shoot it with full confidence? And he's already shown me once he got into the rotation again, once he played himself back into the rotation, that he is able to do this effectively, and he's doing it pretty well. The 3-point percentage now for Buzelis is like steadily increasing. He's made 8 of his last 10 threes now, apparently, or at least somewhere around that stat. So it's just a really good sign for him, because this was the major question mark. Obviously, once he was drafted, it was like, can he shoot the 3-ball consistently? Especially if there's a guy in his face. And this has already shown me that, well, at bare minimum, he's going to get the shot off, right? He also seems that he's not afraid to shoot this shot. One more time, I'm going to repeat it. I would much rather a guy shoot a shot with full confidence, even if it's contested, than have a guy that is afraid to shoot the basketball even he's wide open and basically beg him to shoot the basketball. Much rather have a guy that overshoots and is really confident shooting than a guy that does not shoot enough. So I think that now that we're already seeing with Buzelis that he is willing to shoot this basketball with a guy in his face easily. He's getting his shot off pretty cleanly, even if there's a guy there. No hesitation whatsoever, and he's draining some. That's a very good sign. That's basically all I was really looking for his rookie year, because I knew he wasn't gonna be like playing like ISO basketball or, you know, making crazy spin moves or posting up and doing all these crazy things. I'm aware he has a fadeaway shot that off the dribble that looks like Dirk. Like, I'm aware he has that, but I don't need to see that this year. That's gonna come later down the road. Like, I can work with that stuff later because I know that's in his wheelhouse. But for now, though, I needed him to work on being that sort of off-ball effective player at the 4, and he's done that. And I'm really happy that he's done that. So this is really solid. I'm really hoping that this continues for Buzelis in terms of just confidence. Again, I don't need the shooting to continue, or the makes to continue at this level. But the confidence to let it fly from pretty much anywhere on the floor, especially in that corner spot, that's a very good sign. And I'm hoping that this sort of thing continues for Buzelis moving forward. I did want to show you guys in this specific game one more play that I think is kind of like a different kind of variation for the offense for this Bulls team, because I think this is a little bit of a switch up, and I'm always paying attention to like new plays that the Bulls run, and I think this was one of those times tonight. Go down Viper Strike. Montes is him. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it was him for this game, but he still showed his good moments this game, especially on the block shots. I think we might actually be able to get a little something on Zoe trade. He looks so good. Okay, so Viper Strike, we were just talking about this. TLDR, as much as Zoe has been in like trade rumors recently, and he is playing very well. My only thing though is just I think he just comes with a lot of baggage. And I think a lot of teams will be hesitant to trade for him because of all the baggage. First and foremost, his contract is $20 million this year, or 20 plus. So how many teams are gonna be willing to trade for a guy that is on a minutes restriction, that is going to be coming off the bench, but is also getting paid $20+ million this season? Like, I think that's a kind of a scary thing to trade for, especially with the new CBA and, you know, teams in the first apron and second apron. Like, I don't think teams would be willing to like spend up their luxury tax base or whatever for Lonzo, because he comes with that $20 million contract. Also, then, he's just made of glass. I mean, the knee has been good, so I mean that's obviously been great. But he's already been on the injured list this year, and it wasn't his knee, but he's missed significant time already. And again, he's going to be on a minutes restriction. So if Lonzo was starting, I think a lot of teams would be trading for him because, you know, no minutes restriction. Yeah, it's $20 million, but that's a starter, right? But for a bench player to come to trade for a bench player that's making 20 million and has a minutes restriction, is also made of glass. I just think a lot of teams are like, they'd be a little scared about that prospect of trading for a guy with all of that baggage and making 20 million. He's playing great. I think he's very effective when he's on the court, but I think that he's gonna have less suitors than I think maybe Bulls fans thought. So yeah, I don't know. I if the Bulls get anything for Lonzo, I think they should immediately trade him, because they getting anything for Lonzo with the circumstances would be good. However, I don't know how legit that is. I have my doubts about that actually happening at the end of the day. Hornets gonna bite. If I'm the Hornets though, like I think, like, wouldn't you just wait until free agency instead? Like, you would be able to sign Lonzo to a much cheaper contract, and you wouldn't have to give up assets. Like, if I'm the Hornets, just to, you know, pair the Ball brothers up, I would just wait. Personally, I would just wait for Lonzo just to hit free agency, and then just go after him there. You know, a little something at most. Yeah, it's hard, bro. I know a lot of Bulls fans are talking about it. I know, like, the rumors are happening right now. It's, once again, it is, we're not at December 15th yet, so nothing's gonna happen like anytime soon. But yeah, I think a lot more teams would be like, yeah, I'm willing to go trade for a guy that is making less money that I know won't get injured. And not to mention then minutes restriction, right? So yeah, again, if the Bulls can find anything for Lonzo, great, trade him immediately, go. But it's a hard thing to imagine. Bulls at the moment still have a decent chance of no trades. Wait, what? Sorry. Bulls at the moment have a decent chance of no trades as much as they hopefully get some. Oh, I agree. I don't think anything's necessarily like leaning one way or the other at the moment. I think right now it's a very 50-50 if the Bulls actually do get trades or not. The good news though is obviously Vooch is playing extremely well. So if a team does legitimately need a starting center, Vooch is the guy. Like, he is. I would make this statement right now with the way that Vooch has played and just his shooting percentages. Just a quick look at this, because I know a lot of people already talk about with Vooch, and like, people want to say, oh, well, see, this is what happens when you post up Vucevic. And I'm just like, no, it's not. That's not what's happening this year. What's happening this year is that Vooch is just making his shots. So coming into tonight's game, he is shooting 59% from the field and 47% from three. His highest ever before that was 52.3% from the field, and that was the 2014-15 season. And then his highest from three-point range was the year that the Bulls traded for him, which was the 2020-21 season, when he shot 40% from three. Like, his numbers right now, if the season ended today, this would be a significant increase in terms of everything. And one more time, just because people are always going to be talking about this, and I'm just going to continue to harp on it. It's not like he's being posted up more. Like, his post-up numbers in terms of possessions per game are basically the same as last year. He's averaging 3.2 possessions per post per game, okay, this year, and compared to last year, it's 3.1, okay? If you aren't aware, I look at this a lot. But in terms of points per possession in the post, last year he averaged 0.9 points per possession in the post, and that's for the 34th percentile. This year, he is averaging 1.28 points per possession in the post, and that's the 91st percentile. It's not anything different. Like, the Bulls aren't posting him up more. He is just being better. He is just scoring the basketball instead of not scoring the basketball. He's also, I think if there is a major change, is that he is shooting less mid-range, which is good. Hence the higher percentage from the field. Less mid-range means more consistent percentages if you're just shooting more shots in the paint. And then the three-point shot is just at a ridiculous percentage right now. He basically just can't miss. So yeah, it's not like he's done anything special, or the Bulls have done anything special. He's just making his shots this year, which is great. And he's being a little bit smart about his shot selection. But it's not like the Bulls posted him up more, which Stacey King continues to say that the Bulls are posting him up more. He's doing better in the posts and, like, you know, getting more possessions. They're not. Like, he's just been better in the post. He's just scoring more in the post. He's not getting more possessions. He's getting the same amount of possessions. He's just been better in the post. In terms of points per possessions in the post, I mean, he's arguably been the best player. In terms of, like, frequent post-up possessions. I guess Porzingis, if you count his numbers. But Jokic this year, if you're wondering, by the way, like, his points per possessions in the post is not that good. He's having an incredible year overall, but it's not the typical Jokic. Like, last year, Jokic was better. You know, 1.14 first season, which is very good. So yeah, I think that ideally some team would trade for him, which again, I think even then, just like with Lonzo, there's baggage with Vooch. No defense, right? He's 34, not getting any younger, and who knows, honestly, we've seen some horrible seasons beforehand, so it's kind of just like, I hope that a team tricks themselves into trading for Vooch at the end of the day. I might be the best asset they're featuring for now. Oh, for sure. With the contract, I think Io is the best asset. But I get on Vooch is that there are so many cheaper centers for teams that have a little money to trade for. Oh, I agree. Yeah, that's the reason why I said, yeah, you gotta trick the other team into trading for him. I think Vooch can fit the budget for a backup center in the Nuggets who need one. Lakers need a backup defensive center. Oh, I'm saying that it would have to be a team needs a starter caliber center. Yeah, it's not gonna be a backup. It has to be a starting caliber. Like, they need a starter at center. So, I mean, there's very few teams out there, but I mean, Grizzlies maybe could use one. Pelicans have obviously been the team, but they're not doing anything this year. And so the other team is the Warriors, but I've been pretty adamant that the Warriors won't trade for him. So yeah, it's a limited market. Man, the Timberwolves go double Twin Towers. No, they'll never do that. Yeah, limited market out west. I don't see any of these teams in the East doing it either. I know Orlando's kind of, funnily enough, they kind of need one right now. Wendell hasn't been that good for them, but that will never happen. I didn't expect a faster team to be a better fit for Vooch. I didn't either. I really thought it would be the opposite effect. Offensively, obviously, it's been much better for Vooch. Defensively, though, it's been, you could say, worse. I do think that defensively he has had a major struggle this year. That's not his fault necessarily. The Bulls' perimeter defense has been absolutely atrocious. But yeah, the only way I can talk myself into the Warriors actually getting Vucevic, which I know a lot of people are talking about right now, but it's just that, like, the Warriors would have to be so desperate in terms of that Trayce Jackson-Davis, who's not had a good year, like, they just think that he's so bad, and then the center market for them is just so poor that they just decided to pull the trigger on it. My only thing, though, is that I honestly think the Warriors just have what they need in-house. Like, I think the Warriors would just go to starting Kevon Looney again, and they'll just be fine. Like, I honestly think that would just be a better decision for them overall, is if they just start Kevon Looney instead. I know that Vooch is shooting a ridiculous percentage right now, and Looney doesn't bring the three-point shot, but with Trayce Jackson-Davis struggling so far, I mean, like, that would kind of be the move. So I don't know, bro. I also am aware the Warriors have the money to get Vooch on the team would be hard to do, because they are very close to they're hard capped, but they're very close to the first apron. So it will be very difficult to trade for Vooch in the first place. What's going on, Delbert? Trade for the Bulls and Pelicans are too bad. I'm just praying to God the Pelicans can somehow, like, find some wins soon so that they can get out of this race for the stay in the top 10 for the Bulls in terms of lottery. But yeah, we'll see. I also think the Toronto Raptors are coming. I think the Raptors will be better as we move forward. I'm with you, Robert. It's funny to see. I guess the speed also works for his good passing at center. I think the biggest thing is that the spacing is better for him. So he has more space to operate in the paint, which is good for him. The other thing that it does, though, is that what people don't always think about with spacing is that more teams this year have had to switch against the Bulls just due to the spacing issue, right? Or not issue for the Bulls, but just the fact that there's more spacing, right? Because there's so many three-point shooters on the floor, teams have to switch against the Bulls more because they don't want to give up the open three-point shot. Therefore, Vooch is able to have a smaller guy on him more often down low. So I think the faster pace, and as well as with the better spacing, now that DeMar DeRozan isn't on the team and he's not taking up the same space as Vooch, you're seeing that teams have to switch against the Bulls a lot more. Therefore, a smaller guy's on Vooch, and he's just taking better advantage of those smaller guys this year than previous years. So more often you're seeing that when Vooch does post up, it's probably against a mismatch, which is very good to see. Because obviously I would much rather Vooch, if he is going to post up, it's against a mismatch. But this year, I mean, he's been fantastic. So I'm like, hey, yeah, if you want to throw it down to him until he starts to miss again, throw it down to him in the post. That's great. But still, though, even then, I would still try to limit it a little bit just because pace and posting up does slow you down. But if Vooch does have a mismatch down low and he seals him under the basket, then I was to give it to him. And I think Zach LaVine this year has done a really good job of finding him when Vooch has that guy sealed down low in the middle of the paint, which is good. I'll rate him maybe top 6 passing centers behind Jokic, Simmons, Sabonis as the obvious first 3. Oh, that's an interesting take. I think Jokic and Sabonis are like the main 2 that everyone thinks about, right? If you count Simmons, then sure, you can add him. I think Joel Embiid is an underrated passer, so I do want to give him his props there. I don't think Embiid gets enough credit for how good of a passer he is when he does play. Obviously, he has to play. I think Bam Adebayo is also a better passer than Vooch. And Bam just has obviously the ball handling skills a little bit more. And the last guy, I guess you could maybe say is Cat in a sense. I think Cat is kind of an underrated passer. He has his limitations still, but I think Cat is overall a pretty underrated passer. After that, then maybe it's probably I would put Vooch in that category. But I wouldn't. I'm not putting him over Embiid and Adebayo specifically. Yeah. Sorry. I guess also if you count Wemby as a center, that would also be another guy, but that's up for debate at the end of the day. Okay, back to the film, because again, sorry, tangent, me. Okay, so I want to show you guys this play because I do think that this play here for the Bulls is a different sort of look than what we've been seeing from them this year. So here comes Kobe. Okay, hold on. Sorry, rewind. Sorry, I'm intentionally pausing and doing this to not get copyright strike. All right, here we go. Here comes Kobe with the basketball. So we've seen a little bit more recently with the Bulls that they come up here and they set the screen up high, right? And so it's supposed to just help the Bulls players, with the basketball get downhill quickly. And so Smith comes up as like, hey, I'm going to set the screen up high, and then he doesn't, right? You're going to see what happens here, that Kobe rejects the screen and goes this way, and he throws it over to Phillips. So right here, what you're actually going to see, which is interesting, is that you're going to see that Kobe and Jalen Smith are going to be setting screens for Julian Phillips, out of all people, which is just odd, right? Like, you don't usually see this with Julian Phillips because he is pretty limited in terms of his on-ball creation ability and dribbling ability. And so you see that was basically a horn set right there, which you don't always see that from the Bulls, but that was actually a horn set, but it basically did the job. The Pacers defense got completely confused because because of the double screen set, or like the stagger screens we like to call it, Smith rolled hard, but 2 went to Julian Phillips, and so then the guy that was guarding Kobe goes over to Jalen Smith here, okay? And as you can see here, Kobe is wide open. So Phillips hands off to Terry, and Terry's like, oh, hey, look, a wide open Kobe White. And Pacers completely had a breakdown. Kobe missed, right? But that's fine. Like, I like the play overall. I think that's a very nice play. It's a different variation for the Bulls to give a different look to the defense. Because at the start of this play, everyone's expecting Kobe to take the screen, right? But to see suddenly Julian Phillips have the ball in his hands and run a pick and roll with him, that's just odd, right? You don't ever see that from the Bulls. And so suddenly now Kobe White has a wide open 3-point shot that was not created off of his playmaking ability. That was created off of just using stagger screens to confuse the defense. You slip one of them, and so one person thinks switch, the other person thinks, oh, I got to stick with my man. 2 go with the ball handler. 1 goes to the center rolling, and therefore Kobe White's open at the 3-point line. Again, it's a miss, but even that being said, I don't care that's a miss. That's good offense. And I'm hoping that the Bulls can like continue to add these sort of plays, especially with the extra days off recently. I think that the Bulls, at least so far recently in offense, with the extra days off with practice, they have shown more creativity with their offensive play sets, and I hope that more of that happens, because I think that's really cool to see from Donovan, because this is, again, one thing I've been critical of him throughout his entire coaching career is the lack of creativity on offense, and he's done a lot better job this year so far. Is she Bam McCaskey? Have him just outside the top 7. I think overall with Vooch, he's probably like 7, 8, 9. In terms of passing ability. I want to make it clear though with Vooch that he is not like people when people talk about Vooch's passing, they always think for some reason he's Sabonis level, and I don't think Vooch has ever been that. Vooch has been a solid passer in terms of on the roll. He's very good there, and then at the top of the key, if a guy cuts hard, he finds the guy there. He's also a pretty decent passer in the post. He's not as good of a passer in the post as I think in terms of him being at top of the key, but he's overall solid. What he does not do though is what Sabonis does, which is Sabonis really does find guys and like kind of open up shots for them with his passing in terms of like a very tough like backdoor cut, and like a very tough pass is needed, and Sabonis will find you. I think that a lot of centers don't get the benefit of the doubt in today's age in terms of being able to pass off the pick and roll effectively. Like one guy, for example, I think is actually a very good center in terms of passing out of the pick and roll is Derek Lively. Like I think Derek Lively is very, very good in terms of passing out of the pick and roll. Like I think he's incredible, honestly, with how well he finds guys for open 3-point looks out of the pick and roll. I think he's very underrated for how well he does that. I just think that when people talk about Vooch's passing, especially with the way that Stacey King talks about him, they think he's Sabonis level. Like I want people to understand that Domantas Sabonis, his assist numbers last year were pretty spectacular for a center. I mean, the dude averaged 8 assists per game. Like, that's insane. And we always talk about like Jokic level stats. I mean, Sabonis isn't going to be the 29 point per game scorer that Jokic is, but in terms of being close to a triple double, like Sabonis is insane. So Vooch is not Sabonis level. He will never be Sabonis level in terms of his passing. But he does do a much overall like a better job than most in terms of reading the defense. And passing out the pick and roll, and then also being able to find guys at the top of the key effectively. When he's at the top of the key, excuse me. When he's at the top of the key and finding guys cutting, he's pretty effective there too. But yeah, I overall I think Adebayo is another guy that doesn't get enough credit for how good of a passer he is. And I always just like to tell people like centers that are able to like Adebayo where they're able to kind of go in like at the elbow area, and um, they're initially always probably looking to pass a lot, because the elbow is a good place to kind of pass from. But when you also have the ability to really put the ball on the floor and score from there, it's an underrated skill right now, in today's era. Draymond Green, I think, is like the first guy where like passing out of the post instead of necessarily not always scoring. But Adebayo, like in terms of being able to score from that like 18-foot spot is, and being able to put the ball on the floor is like really good. So I think Adebayo is just, I always have him up higher in terms of just passing ability. Yeah, and then Cat, I think that a lot of people don't give Cat, like a lot of people like the meme on Cat, and I also kind of like the meme on Cat, honestly. He has his moments where I think that he doesn't necessarily show everything that as he should, like, or as well as a like a player as he should really show. But I think that when he is able to be that sort of like kind of hub, he is pretty effective too. He just has moments of inconsistency that you're just like you're scratching your head. So if you want to count the inconsistency, sure, but I think that Cat really has that like good eye. He's not a playmaker by any means in terms of passing, but he has pretty good vision overall when he wants to. How much is like tier 2, tier 3 for passing and centers? Very clear top 3 for passing centers. Oh yeah. I mean, Jokic I think is the very clear cut. I think Sabonis, if in terms of like just like more traditional, like how centers look, I think Sabonis would be number 2, and then if you want to count Simmons, then there's that. I think Embiid, again, I want to just make sure I always hit Embiid. Like I think Embiid is a very good passer. He doesn't get the credit for it because everyone thinks he's a ball hog, but he's actually a very, very solid passer. Even though he's also averaging like 30 points per game. He does a good job there. Again, I always bring up Adebayo because I think that he's also really solid. So yeah. After that, I think you could probably put Vooch there if you wanted to, right? If you want to put Vooch after that, then sure. It's just that I always like to tell people though, like because everyone wants to look at like the assist numbers, right? If you're going based off of assist numbers though, like Vooch has never averaged 4 assists per game. He's never done that. So if you're gonna go straight off based off assist numbers only, he's never gotten up there. And so everyone talks about his great passing ability, but it's like, well, then where's the passing? He's gotten close, obviously, and I do think that assists don't show the full story. Like I think that, for example, with Cat, for example, like his assist numbers aren't exactly amazing either. But he's not very clearly though. You should very clearly see that this is not Sabonis level. Like this is very clearly not Jokic level either. But people act as if Vooch is Sabonis level, which I find it very odd. I don't think Vucevic has ever been Sabonis level passing. Sabonis is a very different tier above Vucevic in terms of passing ability. Grand Array skills still useful in the modern game, having different kinds of passing centers, can see the niche driving. Well, yeah, I mean, I think you're seeing in today's game because it's a lot of 5-out offense or 4-out 1-in. That because the center is kind of either the 1-in or the middle of the floor, having them be a good passer really helps, right? Stretches the floor obviously, and then pulls the shot blocker out of the paint. And their ability to find guys for backdoor cuts or just to get them offensive in better motion, because of where they are, it limits their need for movement for them to have more flow in the offense, right? They can just be a good passer and the offense flows well, even though that they're not moving as much. They're just being a good passer. So I think that's honestly kind of where, like, if there's ever like, hey, where is Jokic like really changed the game? It's kind of there, right? Like Jokic's ability to significantly put pressure on the floor where he's always kind of like elbow area to the top of the key, right? With him and Murray. Like, that's a very, very effective spot. And we see just how much he uses it and how much the Nuggets just rely on it, right? And now you're seeing other teams kind of adopt that system where they're not afraid to use the center as like that sort of hub, as not just a scoring threat there, right? But also like that really good passer that can make decisions, whether it's to hand off the ball, backdoor cut, pass, right? Or whether just to try to go ahead and shoot it. Like Joakim Noah, for example, like when his MVP, like his, again, not his MVP year, but like his, when he was in the running for MVP that year, when he won Defensive Player of the Year. It's like Noah, he averaged, it was this year, yeah, he averaged over 5 assists. And the Bulls, the way he was kind of being used is kind of similar to how Jokic was being used, just like always being like both elbows, and Noah would just find guys. The thing with Noah is obviously he's not the scoring threat that Jokic is from outside the paint. Noah was very clearly a 6 and in guy, and Jokic can score from anywhere. So yeah, like Noah is, like, we saw it kind of with him. I think the other guy that a lot of people don't always talk about is Pau Gasol, which obviously Pau had his time with the Bulls as well. But Pau, in older times, was also very effective in that sort of area, being like the scoring threat, but also the passing ability. You just didn't see it as much because you would put the big man on the low block instead of the like pinch post / high post. Yeah, you're just seeing how the game changes, right? You're seeing that teams understand spacing differently now, and you're seeing like, okay, well, instead of always having the big man on the low block, which then if they're not as good of a scorer from there, it does limit your spacing, right? If you put them in the high block, or the high post or the pinch post action, and you have the 5-out spacing, you can really create some downhill action, especially if that guy's a pretty decent scorer, against opposing defenses, and they have to do a lot to try to cover you up. So yeah, I like that, teams are just kind of understanding how things work, right? And adjusting to like players coming in and like, making difference, like giving teams different ideas and like understanding, oh, hey, maybe we should try this with this specific player. One thing I am noticing right now, just randomly, I'm like looking at these stats for Noah. I always forget like how like short of a career he had. By the way, if you guys didn't see it, Joakim Noah was on Bulls pregame today, which was really cool to see. But yeah, Noah's like overall career, I forget, just like it wasn't that long. But also the fact that I always thought he always had a higher field goal percentage, but he clearly didn't. He was kind of always around 50% or even lower on some seasons, which is kind of odd when you think about it. But yeah, just a little bit surprising to me. Yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so yeah, we're looking at film and then we're done with this overall. I do want to go ahead after with this film, so I'm gonna call the film for tonight on the Pacers game, but I do want to talk about the previous game, which was against San Antonio for the Bulls, which the Bulls won this game. So just a reminder, I did not stream after this game. Thursday night, I'm always with my guys, so I do apologize about that, but I appreciate that you guys let me do that. So this game right here is it's a kind of a similar story overall to what happened against the Pacers, but obviously the Spurs are not as good as the Pacers. I like this game overall because the Bulls did recognize, okay, it's not, I'm just, when I'm talking about this, it's not just Vooch, but everybody recognized, hey, Wembanyama's not playing, which did suck because I always want to see the guy, like all of the star players play against the Bulls, but Wembanyama's not playing tonight. We need to attack the paint, and the Bulls did just that. And 68 points in the paint was the season high for the Bulls. Second chance points 22. So not only did the Bulls get the season high in terms of points in the paint, but they also got a ton of second chance opportunities against a smaller San Antonio Spurs team without Wembanyama, obviously, which is great to see. Bulls had 17 turnovers in this game, but they still scored 139 points, which is insane, which just shows you just how efficient the scoring was. 58% overall from the field, 46% from 3 on 37 attempts, 36 assists. So you had 17 turnovers to 36 assists, which is just insane just to look at. But that's just how efficient this team was in this game. Spurs obviously were lacking their defensive anchor, in Wembanyama, who would have really changed this game. But still, though, I mean, the fact that the Bulls put up this many points against the Spurs team is kind of impressive. Defensively, I mean, Keldon Johnson was killing this team. Devin Vassell had some moments as well. That was kind of frustrating to watch because it just seemed like no one could really like find a grip on these guys. And I was pretty critical of it with some just the way that some of the perimeter players just in their effort. Again, I'm not asking for much. I'm just asking you to try defensively. I'm not asking you to stop these guys. I'm not asking you to be the Celtics of last year. I'm not asking you to keep them to under 100 points. I'm just asking you to try. And some Bulls players were just giving up on some plays, and it was frustrating to kind of witness. Said it earlier, but Terry had a really good game, so props to him. Booz also had a pretty solid game. Had that putback dunk. That was really cool to watch. Taylor Horton-Tucker also had a really nice game in this one. So Horton-Tucker's been kind of a major surprise to me this year because I did not expect him to play this much. And he's had overall a pretty solid overall season, all things considered, because he hasn't played in every game. So there's that. But Io had the triple-double, which there were twice where Io had rebounds taken away from him. So that was kind of interesting to watch. But he eventually got the triple-double and expense to Buzelis' nose. As he did kind of say, hey, Zach, get out of the way, and Zach hit Buzelis in the nose, and that's how Buzelis started bleeding. So it was really cool to see I get the triple-double. And it was also cool to see that Giddey and Dosunmu were the back-to-back guys in terms of triple-doubles, second time in Bulls history. So that was cool to watch. And then last but not least, Vucevic just had a hell of a game, and makes a lot of sense. No Wembanyama, you fed him. And he just continued to eat inside all game long. To really kind of show you how much Vuce has kind of like shifted his kind of mentality this year. I mean, if this was Vucevic of last year, right? Vuce is shooting a lot more mid-range shots, right? This year, I mean, it's threes, it's paint. This is what I wanted to see from Vuce this year, and he's done just that. It's a lot of shots in the paint and a lot of shots going in more in the paint, and then obviously if he shoots a jumper, it's more from the 3-point line. Again, mid-range is not bad. I'm just, there's time and place for it, and so to see that that Vuce has kind of adjusted his game to this overall play style and shot selection is really good to see, and especially against a team like San Antonio when they don't have Wembanyama, you should be absolutely just dominating the paint and not taking mid-range shots. So props to Vuce for doing that. Zach almost had a triple-double as well. He did not have that good of a game, in my opinion. Had some bad decisions, mostly on defense. Offense, though, man, I do appreciate that even if he's not scoring, like, he's been really solid on offense still. He's been finding guys all year long on offense, even if he's not scoring. So the 9 assists kind of shows that. But even if he isn't getting assists, just him breaking down the defense and making the right pass has been really good. Zach picked up that 4th foul kind of earlier in the 3rd quarter, which wasn't great. It was against Vassell, and Vassell got him with the shot fake, which is kind of where I was critical of Zach. But overall, though, still nice game, box score wise, but just being effective overall, even without the box score numbers. So, yeah, nice to see this. Obviously, no Lonzo in this game. He's not playing in back-to-backs. No Kobe White, as he was missing time still, and Kobe returned tonight. So some guys stepped up and did their job. So now that being said, with the Pacers the game against the Pacers today, where you got the L, and the Spurs game, you got the W. The Bulls are now 10-14. They are now tied with the Pacers in terms of record. The Pacers were below the Bulls, if I'm not mistaken. And so now the Pacers and Bulls are tied. Interested to see what happens from here on out. I will say that I don't think the Pacers are going to be sticking around here much longer. The Pacers should be moving up. Bucks just lost tonight to the Celtics in a pretty cool overall game, so go watch that if you haven't. Miami had a dominant win against the Lakers, which was crazy to witness. Lakers just... It's very funny because the Lakers got off to like really nice start and then they lost their last 3, and everybody was like, see, this is what happens when you actually have a good coach, and yet the Lakers have started the exact same record as they did last year under Darvin Ham. So do I think Redick overall on offense is probably smarter? Sure. But in terms of being able to coach a team, reminder that JJ Redick has had no prior coaching experience in the NBA before this season and is then randomly just hired as the head coach. Just like how Steve Nash was with the Brooklyn Nets. I've been pretty adamant that I hated that. I think it's pretty stupid. I think there's a lot more coaches, assistant coaches who have been trying to work their way up the ladder and have actually put in their time. And yet you got JJ Redick, who is very smart, but as just like with me when I've talked to you guys about, me potentially coaching, like just being smart doesn't mean you're a good coach. I'm aware that in coaching there's a lot more to coaching than just X's and O's. I think JJ Redick on offense can draw up a lot of good plays, but I think at the end of the day, I don't know if he's necessarily that great of a coach to make sure these guys actually play well. But even bigger though, in terms of what we should be looking at big picture, the Lakers front office needs to make some changes because they think that if they actually thought that it was just going to be a coaching change that's going to fix all their issues, they're stupid. Rob Blink is dumb if he actually thought that would have happened. And so I hope that they're ready to make some moves because I don't know, bro. LeBron had a better game against the Heat, but I mean, it was not overall a great game. So I'm hoping that they make some moves because I don't know, bro. LeBron doesn't have that many years left, at least in my head. So there's that. For the Bulls, in terms of keeping their pick, I think that the Raptors are coming. I know I keep saying it, and it's like, everyone's like, I don't know. I just don't think that they're going to continue to be like 1-11 on the road type of stuff. Again, the article talked about how the Raptors they've won a lot more quarters. They've won more quarters than they've lost. At least at the time the article was played. Sorry, I'm doing this. I have a skin infection going on, so sorry I'm doing this right now. But I think the Raptors could be coming. We'll see if they do eventually pass up on the Bulls. The team that I'm interested in seeing if they fall is the Brooklyn Nets because they're without Cam Thomas. They've been kind of benching some guys just kind of randomly, or not playing just due to injury. So yeah, the Bulls might honestly just finish where they are at the end of the season. But yeah, I'm interested to see if the Nets fall. I think the Pacers go up because I don't think they're going to be this bad for the rest of the season. And I think that the Nets might fall, and I think the Raptors might go up. Pistons might just kind of be stuck where they're at. They might be flip-flopping with the Bulls, and just, whoever has a tougher schedule goes down. But other than that, though, I think Charlotte and Washington are pretty much out, and we'll see about Philly. I don't have much faith in them overall. But that's kind of the outlook right now in terms of schedule, the standings. But now for the next Bulls game, it is going to be Sunday. It is a very different game because the Bulls will be playing at noon. So it's going to be the first day game, if I'm not mistaken, for the Bulls this year. So the Bulls will be playing at noon on Sunday against the 76ers at home. So it's nice that the Bulls get to stay at home at least, as they will, a little bit quicker turnaround after back-to-back. So interesting to see how this one goes and who's going to be playing, obviously. If Paul George does not get injured before this game, then he should be playing with Tyrese Maxey. Embiid is most likely out unless there's some recent news that I have not seen. But I don't think Embiid's going to be playing in this one, so that'll be interesting to watch. correct me if I'm wrong though. I just haven't, at least I haven't seen anything that signifies that Embiid would be back. I'm quickly checking Shams Charania's tweets. Oh, hold on. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything, but I don't know. Maybe someone else knows the chat here. So yeah, we'll see if Embiid is playing. Um, yeah. So that's up in the air right now in terms of post game. I know it's a Sunday, and a lot of people like to watch football on Sunday, including myself. So if there is no stream on Sunday, I do apologize. Actually, I'm just gonna really quickly, because I will be watching the Bears game no matter what, because of the coaching change and everything. So I just want to. I'm gonna guess the Bears don't play until later. Okay, they don't play until later. Okay. Then what I'll do is I'll probably on Sunday I'll probably watch game. Game should end at least by 2:30. So I'll stream until before the Bears game starts. So that's the plan for Sunday. Bears play at 3:25. So we'll start there on Sunday. So starting there with basketball instead of football on Sunday. All right. I just want to say thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. Spurs look awful without Wemby. Oh, I agree with that. Lakers are about 500. They just don't have a roster to be better than OKC or anything. I don't think they have a better roster to be better than a lot of teams in the West, though. Yeah. I don't think the Nets need Cam Thomas. They suck versus matchup to matchup for those two games, but I expect them to be similar to now. It's not just about Cam Thomas, though. Like they didn't play Cam Johnson recently. Like I just have questions about who's actually gonna be playing for them. But yeah, if Dennis Schroeder continues to play good, then we'll see about that. Thank you guys for all hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate y'all checking out the stream. If you have not already, hit the like button on the stream. Helps me out a ton. Please do. I would really, really appreciate that. Bulls lost tonight. They won in San Antonio. So back-to-back games. Won the first game, lost the second game. It's been kind of a trend, if you haven't noticed. Casey Johnson had a tweet about it. But the Bulls in the second game of back-to-back have not been too good. In the first game of back-to-back, which the Bulls have had a significant amount early to start the year, that's been it's been pretty good overall in the first game. So this is the sixth set of back-to-backs. First game is they're 4-2, which was after the Spurs win. They're now 1-5 in the second game. So shows you that players are just a little bit more tired at the end of the day. So yeah, we'll see who plays on Sunday. I don't expect Philly to have Embiid, but maybe Embiid is healthy. And either way, though, just seeing Paul George and Tyrese Maxey out there will be interesting to watch. So I'll see you guys on Sunday after the game, and then we'll head into the Bears game right after. All right, appreciate y'all once again. Thank you guys so much for all hanging out with me tonight. Thank you for everyone that stuck through with the stream, and if you watch the ads, I really do appreciate it. I'll see y'all on Sunday. All right, thank you all. Peace out.